Hey everybody, Michael King here, along with my good pal Troy Cole, the
What's up?
Mavericks. Yeah, welcome to the podcast, everybody. So today we are going to be tackling a topic that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people, and that's how to handle the big question that you get a lot in your practice, which is to do with pricing. And Troy, you and I were on a call with a client of mine earlier on, and we had talked to them about a secret shop that you did, so we can kind of go through that. But also, Troy, you're gonna kick us off by talking through a little bit of sort of high-level strategy about how you want to be thinking about pricing in your practice and having the mindset that your team needs to have to be successful in handling that, whether it's on the phone or in clinic for the consult. And then a little bit later on, I'm also going to be able to talk through some tactical ideas and tips and sort of tricks, if you will, that your team may want to keep in mind when they're doing the consultation, some things just that can help you to be able to more elegantly navigate the pricing question during a consultation. So, Troy, where do you want to kick off, my friend?
Yeah, let's talk about the high level stuff, man, like the mindset part, because that's where all of this is rooted.
Yeah.
Pricing and cost and why are you more expensive than the guy down the street? Yeah. These are things that come up all the time in practices. In your practice right now, this is one of the most common questions or topics that comes up on the phone, you know, and then you got guys out there doing $290, starting at $299 an eye and all that garbage, right? Yeah. So like just price and money is something that's always on people's minds. It's always coming up and we got to be able to deal with that, right? So first things first is pricing questions and pricing perception is rooted in a malfunction in thinking. Okay. People are thinking improperly if they're thinking, I'm going to make a healthcare decision about my vision based on price. Now, that's not to say that price doesn't matter. I mean, if it was $100,000 and you didn't have a penny to your name, like obviously that would matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but when people call and they say, hey, what do you guys charge for LASIK? Well, you can assume that they called two guys before you and then two or three more practices after you, and they're going to ask the same question. How much closer are they to making an informed decision, having the price points of 6 different practices in front of them? The answer is 0. Yeah. If anything, they're further off track from making an informed decision because now they've centered their entire decision-making process around this one factor that they're ranking at the top that really should be down about 4 or 5. There's a lot of boxes you got to check before you get to price to make sure that someone's a great practice and a great surgeon who's going to go in and take care of my eyes, right? So you can tell I'm passionate about this topic. This is
I love it. I want to unleash you today, my friend. Go for it.
Listen, practices lose tons of money and patients that they could help because they don't know how to handle these types of questions. So first thing is, remember that this is a mindset issue. These patients and prospects don't know how to think about pricing and the structure of pricing. And so we need to teach them. All right. One of the things that we go through in our boot camp, we spend so much time talking about leadership and having authority and leading our patients to making the right decision for them. We have to teach them and train them how to think about and how to make these decisions. Price is the exact same way. All right. So that's point number 1 on price. Point number 2 is that there's tension sometimes when I talk to practices and we're talking about having a premium price point or being priced higher than other practices around town. And I just want to just take all that and put it to the side and take a minute and tell you, like, the more premium you are priced, the better service and care you can provide your patients.
There you go.
All right. And this is an exercise we walk through with every single practice. All right. And I ask them, what are you able to do by having a higher premium priced service or procedure? Well, you're able to hire better surgeons, hire better team, see fewer patients, not have people stacked up in your waiting room, not have people backed up an hour and a half waiting for their consult to start because you have all these different people doing all these different things. You have better offices, better equipment, better technology, more types of technology, more time and money to do research for different new procedures around the world that you can bring back to your patients. All of these things are afforded you because you charge a premium price to your patients and therefore give them a premium experience and results. And the flip side is also true. You can try to be like the cheap buy one, get one, $1,000 an eye, whatever, fact of the matter is, if you're going to do that and stay open, you're going to have to pile up those consults. You're going to have people sitting on top of each other in the waiting room. You're going to have to run on a thin staff. You're going to have to underpay people. It's the only way you can do it and keep your doors open.
Yeah.
All right. So do not be afraid of that premium price point. Embrace it and know that that's where the best patient care comes from.
It does. And it's like so much of what, and I love how what your approach is complements with where I focus on, which is really more on the patient acquisition side, the paid traffic, the, setting up your website. But all of this stuff is great. If you're getting a whole bunch of leads from, whether it be from your website or from Google or from Facebook or whatever, and then your team is kind of dropping the ball when they're handling that very important question, which relays around pricing, it's just, you're literally leaving money on the table. And the key is that, and one of the things I really appreciate about the approach you take, Troy, is that you actually secret shop a practice prior to having a conversation with them about opportunities for you to be able to help them out with training. And so the thing that came to light that we had on our call today is like, you've got, somebody at the front, and they're really good people. And I know that she answered the phone, quite hospitable to you, great disposition, et cetera, but still, like when you asked her the question about how much does LASIK cost, to give you the answer, they're not really taking control of the conversation. And you ended up leaving that phone call, and they never asked you to schedule a consultation. They never got your demographic information. And, if you were to ask her, and you had mentioned this earlier when we were talking with the surgeon, is like, if we were to ask her what she thought of the call, I'm sure she would say it was a good call because she gave the best that she had in the moment. But the key is that you got to help people to be thinking differently. And it's having that sort of mindset. I really believe the same thing that you're saying, is that mindset is so key. And given the fact that right now, staffing is an issue for practices, you've got to get the greatest output from the people that you've got and support them and love on them in the sense of like giving them the tools and training to help them to execute better on a day-to-day basis. Thoughts?
Yeah, 100%, man. Those people have to be equipped. They've got to feel confident in what they're doing, right? Yeah. The more confident they feel, the better job they do. The more money they're going to make you, the more patients they're going to book, the more people you're going to help, the longer they're going to stick around because they feel purpose and meaning in their job, right? It's a win-win for everybody, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. There was another point, I think, and maybe if you've covered it, forgive me, but was there another point you wanted to add before we kind of jump in and talk a little bit more on the patient counselor side? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, man, look, I mean, I could talk on pricing all day long.
Yeah, that's good.
But you kind of touched on it there, which is really when you're addressing the pricing question, we don't just want to go out and say, here's what the price is, right? Yeah. That means you're leading the call. I'm the follower. Okay. Rather, it should be flipped, right? I, the practice, the phone team member, the engagement team, the counselor should be leading the conversation. I should be asking you questions. I should be qualifying you. I should be the one that's guiding this ship and determining if I tell you the price and what I'm telling you the price for, and I'm telling you that in the context of all the other information and knowledge that you need to make a smart decision. And so we get into like, we'll talk more about tactics here in a second, and we get real tactical in the trainings that we do. But like, if I was going to say just one thing is like, if someone asks the pricing question, don't just tell them the price. Tell them, hey, look, we've got a bunch of different, maybe not a bunch, but like, hey, we have several different types of treatments and procedures we do here. Let me ask you a few questions if you don't mind, so I can get a better idea for what you're dealing with. I can answer that question accurately for you. Does that sound good? And then they say yes, and then boom, you're in control and you start asking the questions and you run the show.
That's a key point in any sort of situation, especially one where there's potential for sales to be involved. The person that is asking the questions is the person that's in control of the conversation. And so, having worked inside an ophthalmology practice for 12 years and counseled thousands of patients, to kind of just do a little bit of a pivot to some tactical things, I would always, when I had a patient in front of me and they're sitting down they've met with the OD, and the text, they found out they're an actual candidate, they would always like, so, well, tell me what the pricing is. And I can tell you, if your patient counselors right now are showing the price within like the first 30 to 60 seconds or first couple of minutes of a actual face-to-face consult, they're not framing it the proper way. And what I mean by that is, I'd see patient counselors like literally walk in and they use that piece of paper that has the pricing on it, kind of like as a crutch, right? Like let me just make your eyes focused on this piece of paper. Whereas what you really want to be doing as a patient counselor is you want to be, or having your patient counselors to be asking them questions. And I like to ask a couple quick questions. Like when somebody asks me pricing, I like to find out, coming in here today, what were your expectations on pricing? Have you had a chance to shop around? Have you called other practices? And why do I want to know that? Well, I do want to know if they have gone to Troy's point to the big box sort of $299, $499 laser practices. I want to have that context because it's much easier to be able to get through that if you actually know the frame that person's coming at. And again, just don't presenting price too quickly, but also building up the value of what they're able to get, and then talk about affordability and the rest of that. But those are a couple of things that I have, is like asking the right questions, making sure you don't present price too quickly. But I really think that this is a topic every single practice can benefit from, because your phones and your in-person with patients, that's where there's just a lot of low-hanging fruit for practice. Thoughts?
Yeah, so many thoughts.
I know,
but
so many, right?
Like really, just to sum this up, go call your practice. Turn this podcast off when you're done. Like after you listen to us finish up, call your practice, or have your friend call your practice, or your spouse or your neighbor, whatever. Have somebody secret shop your practice. Just ask them, what do you guys charge for LASIK? Okay. And see what happens. And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 of you, probably more, will not get asked to book a consult, will not get asked your name. Okay. And so do that, and then pick your jaw up off the floor, and then try not to think about that probably happened 2 or 3 other times today, and then multiply that times 5 days a week, and then 20 business days a month, and that's $100,000. Try not to think about all that. You give us a shout, and we help you fix it. Okay? We help you fix it. But go do that. See it for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Call your practice. It takes 2 minutes. Do it on the way home. Do it on the way to the office. I don't know, whenever you're open, whenever you got phone team, call them up, see what happens.
Yeah. So if you are looking to grow your clinic volume and you want to chat a little bit more with either Troy or myself, please feel free to reach out to us. Go to refractivemavericks.com. Appreciate you listening to us here today. Troy, I will give you the last word, my friend.
My last word is, you went to medical school, you opened a practice, you invested decades of time, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in money, took all the risk, support your community and all your team members and all their families, and you should get paid what you're worth. That's the last word. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everybody.